Do you think real estate property values will double in the next 5 to 10 years, like after the 2008 recession? Okay, I mean, first of all, I would say I don't invest in real estate, so probably not the best person for this. But looking at this as an outsider, I would say, okay, so we all assume that we're going into a recession and possibly depression, right? Because this is going to be worse than 2008. We'll have rising inflation because of the printing of money and quantitative easing. And we'll also have rising unemployment because people will be out of jobs. I mean, we have over 10 million uh, jobless claims that have been filed in the last few weeks. So unemployment could reach 15%, maybe even 20% unemployment. So factoring that in, we're going into recession, possibly depression. So if that happens, real estate prices will drop. All asset classes will be repriced. So everything that was overpriced will now be available at a discount, at a bargain. So if that's happening with real estate prices, that means if you're a real estate investor or just investing in any asset class, now would really be the good time to buy. Well, not now, but I would say in the coming few years, 1 to 2 years, because real estate itself also, the impact of the recession is always delayed. So, for example, when stocks crash and they go through a bear market and recession, because real estate is very illiquid, it's an illiquid asset, it's not going to happen just like that. It's going to take time for people to recalibrate the prices and realize that they overpriced them and people now aren't buying as much. So it's going to take 1 to 2 years. But I mean, from I've been getting hit up by a bunch of realtors to look at houses. So the fact that they're cold calling and cold emailing a lot more aggressively now lets me know that the pain is already being felt. I saw recently that lots of landlords are now trying to make it easier for their tenants. Like I heard that Grant Cardone is now giving out his properties basically 3 months free of rent. So people who sign deals for 15 months will get it at a price of 12 months. So, and I'm seeing this across lots of other different landlords in the real estate space. So it seems like people are definitely feeling the pinch, especially those people who are over leveraged. So, I mean, going back to your question, will we see values double in the next 5 to 10 years? I would say, I mean, nobody knows. Nobody really knows, right? All we can do is speculate. But I think it's going to take a couple of years, maybe 2 years, maybe even longer, who knows, for prices to really crater and bottom. And once that happens and people buy the dip, long term, yes, prices could recover. I mean, they probably will recover. Whether they'll double, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if we factor in that we have hyperinflation or inflation, yes, prices will increase, but purchasing power will decrease, which really makes things very, very tough. I mean, so for real estate prices to double in 5 to 10 years, I think if they do, it's going to be more towards 10 years. But maybe we go through a hyperinflation period in the US where prices just, because of the printing of money, I mean, become paper, cryptocurrency, not cryptocurrency, sorry, fiat currency become totally worthless, and the prices double, but the people who can afford these houses decreases. I mean, so if that were to happen, this would be like a super depression. I'm not even sure what that would be called. I mean, because we cannot allow prices to double, but in a way, we need to, because the entire economy has to reset. Because I mean, the government keeps on printing money, and that's really the pathway we're on. Because prices will increase, but purchasing power will decrease. So that means less people will be buying homes because less people will be able to qualify for mortgages, and that means renting will increase. So if anything, if you're a real estate investor, following that logic, assuming my non-realtor, my outsider looking in perspective is right, that would mean you would buy the dip in the next few years during this recession, buying real estate, and then renting it out, which is what most people do, right? I think really the industry that would be affected the most would be the flippers, right? People who buy houses to flip them. People who buy houses, fix them, and flip. I think that industry is probably going to be dead in the coming years. I mean, who knows for how long? But I would say during a recession, I think it's going to be dead. Unless you're flipping, unless you're buying the homes that are distressed, like buying them on foreclosures and auctions, maybe. But if you're just regularly buying regular homes and fixing them and flipping them, that industry is probably going to be down. But hey, I'm just an outsider looking at things. But if anything, if less people can qualify for mortgages, there'll be more renters. And if there are more renters, I mean, it's basically a renter's bull market, because renters will have no choice but to rent. If you can qualify for a mortgage, you have to rent. You have to have a place to live. Now, maybe you rent in a place or a house you don't want because you can't afford it. Maybe this is the best you can afford, but renting is going to go up based on that logic. So if anything, I mean, being a renter, being a landlord, renting out places would be the way to go. So if anything, real estate will still be booming, but it will be kind of in a different space. But hey, I mean, I don't dabble in real estate, not my expertise. I focus on crypto, but to answer your question, I think that's kind of where things are going.